Really though, is it not like clockwork? Did I not say in my last video literally that the Warriors running a whole bunch of pick and rolls against the Timberwolves was an aberration because Steph Curry wanted to get some get back for Ant-Man talking trash the game before when they ran the motion to the ground and lost to that team? You know, I was actually kind of hoping that the pick and roll situation would continue given how well they played offensively in the second game against the Timberwolves, and this being the cup game and whatever and all. They're running these small tiny ass lineups, and their only true advantage going small is creating opportunities out of the pick and roll, because if you're gonna run the motion, you should not be going small whatsoever. The motion requires you to set screens, on ball screens, off ball screens. That is the nature of creating shots off of the motion offense. You need two viable screeners for the motion to be successful. I mean, sometimes you can work with one screener, but only if you actually have a true big on the floor. When you have Jonathan Kuminga and Draymond Green on the floor at the same time, you don't really have screening. So despite the fact that the Warriors literally beat the Rockets a few games ago without Steph Curry or Draymond by running a whole bunch of damn pick and rolls against the cone whose name happens to be Alperen Sengun, you have that guy who cannot guard anything out of the pick and roll, and you just waste the entire first half of the game, scoring a whopping 37 points, on pace to score 74 points for the game. Yeah, the Warriors scored 37 points in the first half. Running nonsensical, small, and tiny lineups. The lineups are just all over the map. Once again, Slo-Mo only gets 4 minutes in this game, has a couple of bad moments, and has never to be found again. The Warriors can simply go bigger throughout the course of the game and make things easier on both ends of the floor. But one way or another, Steve Kerr, the criminal, will never, ever learn. Don't you notice that I am calling out exactly what will happen if they do this versus that? If they run a whole bunch of pick and rolls and they do it consistently throughout the game, they're gonna beat just about every team in the league. If you run a whole bunch of motion and you do it with small ass lineups, the Warriors are literally the worst team in the NBA. It's like Steve Kerr is like a casual fan or something. You know, you watch one game to the next and you see patterns, right? So when you see patterns of either success or failures, well, you make those adjustments, see what fails, stop doing those things, and then see what succeeds and keep doing those things, right? But what a casual fan will do is not recognize any of those patterns and treat each game like a completely new game, and nothing that happened in the past matters. Oh, this is a new game. We're just gonna try this and that and experiment and let's see what happens, even though we've already seen last season, the season before that, the season before that, the season before that, what works and what doesn't. This guy has been the coach of this team for 10 freaking years, and people are still talking about he's experimenting. Maybe he just doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Maybe he's a fraud. Maybe he's a charlatan. Maybe he doesn't even understand what creates a good defensive lineup and what creates a good offense. The guy is electing to go with these small lineups. You have Steph Curry at point, you have Paz at shooting guard, and you have Buddy Hield at the small forward spot. What? What kind of lineup is that? What advantage is created by running a lineup like that? My mind is blown. Game after game after game. I can't go a game without Steve Kerr making 15 dumb mistakes per game, man. There needs to be a stat for dumb decisions per game by a coach. There needs to be stats for a coach that shows whether this guy's making a smart decision or a stupid decision. So after the Warriors end up scoring 37 freaking points in the first half of this game, they come out in the second half in the third quarter, and what do? They run the Jim Park offense. Not Steve Kerr, not pick and roll, the Jim Park offense. That's what I'm calling it from now on, because whenever they do that, whenever they run my shit, they win and they dominate. Whenever they run Steve Kerr's bullshit, they always lose. 32 points they scored in the third quarter. Run a whole bunch of pick and rolls against Alperen Sengun, the cone. He can't do anything to stop actions. Even Draymond Green is scoring on him in the pick and roll action. So finally, okay, second half, change the game plan, it's working. Next thing you know, they stop running it. They go back to the motion offense. Split action. We got some free layups. Everything is going great. Meanwhile, Steph Curry is getting off rhythm because he's not dribbling the ball anymore. And like I said the game before, and the game before, and the game before, and the game before, if Steph Curry is not persistently on the ball throughout the course of the game, he will not have rhythm to close the game. And then you don't have a closer. It's clockwork. I'm telling you, every single time this happens. And then people wonder, Steph Curry plays so poorly down the stretch. The pick and roll didn't work. They stopped running it. You have to be in rhythm to successfully run these things. And you have to run the correct lineups. And he's not doing it, man. Steve Kerr is not doing it. He keeps going to the things that don't work. And he keeps going away from the things that do work. Bruh, watching Steve Kerr coaching this team, coaching the game of basketball, is like watching basketball hell on earth, man. It is basketball hell on earth. I cannot deal with this sheer incompetence just game after game after game. The Warriors have 3 viable bigs. They have Kevon Looney, they have Trayce Jackson-Davis, and they have Slo-Mo. Kevon Looney played 11 minutes in this game. Trayce Jackson-Davis actually got in rotation. I guess Steve Kerr was desperate. He felt like Slo-Mo was not fit to play this game somehow because he's put in these lineups that don't really work, these offensive schemes that don't work, and then he thinks it's the player's fault. Anyway, Trayce got into the game and managed to play 15 minutes. And you know what's hilarious? They run the pick and roll in that third quarter and they run it to the ground. And then Trayce comes into the game, and then Steph Curry leaves the game, and then they stop running the pick and roll again. And I'm just like, wow, man. It's sabotaging decision after sabotaging decision after sabotaging decision. Slo-Mo gets 4 minutes of play. And the Warriors are going small. They're going tiny. And this is just not a way to win games. They cannot win games like this because when they do these things, they are handicapping themselves. And they are literally the worst basketball team in the NBA. They will lose to any and every team playing this kind of style. Only games they have been able to win over the last 9 games are the 2 games that they played pick and roll against the Timberwolves and the Rockets. Was there some bad reffing going on in this game? Sure. You can partly blame the refs for the fact that the Warriors lost this game. But as I've said in the past, whenever the Warriors are on national television, especially on TNT, these are the things that they have to overcome. And if they're more efficient in the way they run things in general, they usually overcome it. Just like they did in the first 11 games when they went 9-2. There were a lot of manipulations in those games as well. It just wasn't as pronounced or noticeable because the Warriors created enough separation with consistent great defense with bigger lineups and actual centers throughout the course of the game instead of running Draymond to the ground at the center spot. But okay, keep doing it. Keep playing Draymond at center, keep playing Jonathan Kuminga at power forward, and keep putting 3 guards next to those guys and play the smallest lineup possible. You guys realize that in order for an NBA offense to be efficient, you need bigs that can finish inside the paint and get you some easy freaking buckets. The Warriors don't have that. This is exactly what happened last season as well when Steve went to these small and tiny lineups that can't get any easy points in the paint because you have no finishers that are playing the bigs positions. You have no screeners that can properly create better spacing for the smaller guys to be able to get into the paint. And these fundamental errors are somehow seen by this coach as something viable no matter how many times it fails the team. So like I said the last game, them running pick and rolls is the only viable path for a small ass lineup to have any shot of winning any game. If they're gonna run the motion running a small lineup, well, why are you running a small lineup? It doesn't make any sense, and it just doesn't matter for Steve Kerr. He's just trying whatever, whenever, and like I said in the last video, they are perpetually mediocre because they'll go back and forth, going yo-yo, Some nights they'll play randomly pick and rolls and they'll win that game, and then they'll go back to the motion, do a bunch of bullshit and lose that game. One day they'll look like one of the best teams in the league, and the next day they'll look like one of the worst teams in the league, and you average that out to be a mediocre team. Get Steve Kerr out of my face, man. So that basketball floor was awfully red tonight. Steve Kerr himself said something along the lines of the floor looking like the depths of hell. Or perhaps it was created for the devil himself, man. Because watching Steve Kerr coach the Warriors is basketball hell on earth. Oh, did I say that already? Watching Steve Kerr coach the Warriors is basketball hell on earth. There's been a lot of rumors about the Warriors going after this trade and that trade, but at the end of the day, the first thing they need to do is get this guy out of here. Sorry I couldn't bring you guys better attitude for tonight, but it is what it is. Thank you for your patience. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.